Welcome to the SMBAdvertising podcast. My name is Mike Damjanovic and I'm the host of this really special podcast, which is aiming to deliver you value on all aspects advertising and marketing. So today with me, I have a very special guest, Thomas Moen from Moen Co.
Hey.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So Thomas, over the last 20 years, you've been working with all forms of marketing, really.
Yes.
And Tine, Orkla, Disney, Nike, and Telia are just some of the brands that you've been working with.
Yes.
In that time. And today you're focusing on helping small and medium-sized e-commerce stores.
Yes.
To grow via your agency, Moen Co.
Yes.
And then I guess we should also mention that you're also running two very successful podcasts, which is Success with Advertising and the e-commerce podcast, which we will, of course, also link to.
Thank you.
They are, of course, in Norwegian.
Yes.
So welcome. I've really been looking forward to speaking with you.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be fun.
And I think, if I'm correct, you're one of the very first people that actually started with Facebook advertising here in Norway.
Yes, very, very early, 2007. Early, yes.
Early. I wonder just if you could say a little bit about that journey, how it all got started and versus where you are now.
Yeah. And it's strange because it was so limited. It started with just simple banners on the site. But the first phase of Facebook marketing in Norway especially was all around getting as much likes as you could, right? And getting your engagement, and you're buying fans with pieces of chocolate or iPhones or invites to Spotify, which also was kind of hot at those times. But I remember especially the big brands who were used to buying their reach felt frustrated at times of just playing this cat and mouse game of trying to get free distribution. So when Facebook started to offer to pay to reach more people, a lot of the big advertisers in Norway started slowly experimenting with it. But also from the start, Facebook had a self-service platform that made also small businesses being able to compete with the big ones in terms of bidding to the audiences. And it was fun to kind of see, I would say the smaller businesses got it faster in terms of what content and what kind of voice you could use to get good results out of your ads. And the big ones were just focused on reach, as they always are. But it took quite a few years from being able to just buy reach, and I remember it was magical saying I want to reach all the guys between 34 and 64 that lives in Kristiansand, for example. That was something that was just amazing to me to kind of just being able to do. But it took quite a few years until Facebook started with tracking conversion, tracking results. And that's why when I really started getting passionate about it, because then you can actually measure real return on kind of effort on that platform. But it was a fun time. A lot of people were very skeptical on it. You know, the radio, TV, outdoor was still very dominant. But the more Facebook started showing real data and giving you more and more demographic choices, the more natural the choice became to put more money on that platform. Yeah,
that's perfect. And part of what you've been speaking about now then is these small businesses that were quick to act.
Yes.
But here in Adline we speak to quite literally hundreds of small businesses, and one thing that I've come up to again and again is their hard-earned ad budget. This is money that they've put sweat and tears into working, and then they've got their money and they know they need to grow. So then but this money that they have is their hard-earned ad budget. But how would you say a small business should be actually allocating their hard-earned ad budget?
So first of all, the alternative of not spending on something like Facebook, for example, is putting it in your local newspaper or on radio or something like that. And you don't have the same way of measuring results there. So it's more like hoping things would maybe turn out good, or I will get some kind of return. So I think that the best alternative to spend the money is something that's very measurable. And the beauty with these platforms is that you can start with as little as like 10 euros a day, right? So you don't have to allocate thousands of euros to get started. You can only put more money into it when you see that it's working. So what I usually tell to small businesses is that I start really small, measure everything, be patient, don't expect something to kind of just blow up overnight, but just slowly start adding more and more of your advertising spend on what's currently working. So I would say that small businesses with their hard-earned money, and it's for them, it's like, do I take out a salary, or do I put more money into Instagram or Facebook or something like that, right? It's small businesses, they are vulnerable in that position. So I think it's a superpower that you're able to see what's actually working. So I would, a few hundred euros a month, and you're off, right? And you can just start spending more where you see it's actually where it is. So I think that start really, really small. Don't kind of overthink that you have to spend a lot of money to get started, and just follow the results more than let the money follow the results, literally.
Yeah, exactly. So start small, find out what's working.
Yeah.
And when you know what's working, then you can
start
scale up.
Putting on some more. Yeah. And again, it should be like a long-term game for all advertisers, right? So I think that's a mistake a lot of people are also doing, is that when they see something is working, they throw too much too quickly on campaigns and stuff like that. So my job for a lot of our clients is actually holding back and teaching them to be patient and gradually scale the budget more than just throw more at it. Because if you put kind of too much fuel on the fire, it'll explode, and you'll start losing control, and the results might not be that good. So start small, scale slowly and steadily, and that's the best thing a business can have, is predictable, scalable results, right? So just be patient and gradually put more money into it. I think it's the best advice.
Yeah, that's and that kind of leads on to the next question. I mean, we've talked a bit about Facebook now, but a small business, should they be prioritizing multiple channels, or should they be putting, so to speak, all their eggs in one basket?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of all eggs in one basket. Although, again, so you're not spread too thin in terms of your spend, you can maybe start with Facebook as a platform. I think that's the easiest platform right now to start measuring and seeing some profit and results, and then gradually starts widening your horizon from there. For most businesses, it makes sense to be on Google as well. So that's kind of the two minimum platforms I recommend. And a lot of exciting things are happening now on Pinterest, which is a very undervalued, underappreciated channel at the moment. TikTok is exciting, Snapchat is exciting. So, but master Facebook first, get some predictable results out of that, add on Google, and from there it's more when Facebook is starting to hit some kind of a ceiling, then you can kind of broaden your eyes a little bit. But you are extremely vulnerable if you just have, for example, Facebook. I know people in the industry that had millions of euros of revenue monthly from Facebook alone. Their ad account got shut down by some mistake, and it took 3 months for them to get back. It almost killed their business, right? So if they had put more eggs in more baskets, they wouldn't be that vulnerable.
Great. So we've talked a bit about the advertising and the spending.
Yep.
But in terms of, your campaign's running, let's talk about tracking.
Yep.
So do you have any tips for small, medium-sized businesses regarding tracking their performance?
Yeah, so first of all, don't start spending money until you solve the tracking issue. Because then you're just flying blind or driving really fast on a dark road, right? You don't know what's in front of you. You don't know what's working. You can't prepare for anything. So before you spend more than 10 euros a day, you should definitely just focus on getting that tracking going. And you should also have clear expectations kind of the goal or the kind of stages or funnel you want them to follow, right? So if you're e-commerce, you should track add to cart and purchases. If you are a hairdresser or something like that, it's bookings or filling out the contact form. If it's a B2B, it's like measuring opt-ins to your newsletter or to your webinar or to download form, something like that. But you should always run campaigns that has a clear goal of that, and you shouldn't spend money until you trust that those numbers are accurate. And trust in this capacity is the number you see on the platform, on your platform or in Facebook or other places, and the number you see on Google Analytics shouldn't be more than 5 to 6%, away from each other. Then you have a quite confident way of knowing that you're tracking things correctly, and then it's easier to measure if it's profitable or not.
I have one final question for you.
Yeah.
And because we have to get as much information as we can while we've got you in the studio.
Yeah.
It's not often we have someone with your experience. But do you have any general strategic tips for SMBs that they're able to implement today?
Yeah.
To improve their digital marketing?
Yes. So there's 2 mistakes most small businesses do before they succeed with their marketing. One is that their website is not converting, meaning it's not clear what you want your audience to do once they hit your page. And then it's just it's like getting someone into your physical store, but you have no cashier register or you don't have any employees there, right? You can just walk around and look at things, and it's quite it's not valuable at all. So having a website that what you want your audience to do, and where you measure what the audience is actually doing is kind of the first thing you should have under control before you start your marketing at all. And the second is what we call the creative, meaning images, text, videos that are talking about your product or your service. Most people don't spend enough time really trying to nail down how they can communicate as clearly as possible to their core audience what they want them to do. And there's usually a big gap between what the ad says and what the landing page where you're sending them are. Right? So no matter if the marketing comes from influencers or email marketing, SMS, paid ads, SEO, TV, whatever, the message needs to be clear, and the website that you're hitting needs to make sense, and need to be optimized for you taking the next natural step to becoming a customer or a leader or whatever. So conversion rate on website and testing different hooks on your creative, and just really narrowing down how to get the attention and the trust of your core audience. That is the 2 things you should focus on first, and that will give you so much better results on any type of marketing activity than if you don't think about those things.
Yeah, that's a really good advice that you can actually implement today.
Yes.
I think people are surprised when they actually look at their website and how it's optimized to actually, like you say, do you even have a checkout box?
Yes.
Do you make it easy for someone to find the checkout box?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the messaging, and that can be something as little or as small as having the price in your ads, for example, put at £129 or whatever it might be, and then they go to the landing site, and then suddenly it's £250.
Yes.
Just those small discrepancies, it takes away a lot of that trust that you need for someone to
100%.
to actually
And
purchase.
actually, a client of mine took this quite literally, and I'm glad he did. So he went into a coffee shop and he just started asking, the people. He was that guy who just suddenly started talking to you guys that us Norwegians are comfortable with. But like, hey, I'm just trying to get some feedback. This is my website. What do you think I'm doing? Okay, what do you think I want you to do on this website? And he got so much valuable info, just 20 minutes in a coffee shop, right? So that's very actionable. Or I like to ask my grandmother or my mom, like, what do you think about this? What are they doing? Just spend 5 seconds on this page, and what do they want you to do? And you learn a lot. So I think that that's probably the most actionable thing you can do.
Thomas, thank you so much for your time. We've covered quite a bit today. We've talked about how you should be allocating your ad budget, what types of channels you should be using. We talked about tracking, and then the last two pointers from you that companies should be implementing. How are you communicating with your customers? Are you communicating in a way that you think is understandable, or in a way that they think is understandable?
Yes.
And then obviously the optimization of their websites. So this has been a really fantastic episode with lots of great pointers that I think also we in Adline we're going to go away and implement.
Good.
And hopefully you guys that are watching or listening to this, there's something that you can implement today. So thank you very much, Thomas.
My pleasure.
And thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.